What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Mischief Dance here, back with another video. And today we are doing a part 2 with my hey sister, soul sister, Miss Latricia, who is carrying a beautiful baby as a gestational carrier for a family. So if you guys have not watched the first video, go back and watch the first video, because today we're just doing a follow-up with her and seeing how this pregnancy is. So how many months are you?
Well, I'm 38 weeks, so I'm pretty much in my last month.
Oh my goodness, your last month. So what has it been like since we last spoke? How has it been your last trimester of this pregnancy? Like, is it harder? Is it easier?
It's had its ups and downs. Some of my preterm, morning sickness and things like that went away. But of course now I'm dealing with belly being in the way, so I can't do certain things physically, and I like to move around, so
it's hard to just roll over on the bed these days.
Oh, definitely, yes. Let's sleep, getting up, going to the restroom more during the night. And then I know last time we spoke, it was just before we went on vacation with the family, the intended parents. So good. That was a great experience in my third trimester. Well, I think it was like right before my third trimester hit that we went on that trip. But that was a great experience.
Oh, nice. So that's good that you forged such a strong relationship where not only you can carry the child of an intended mother, as you call the mother who the child is going to belong to, the intended mother, but you also can bond with them and take family trips and enjoy each other. I think that's amazing. So for all of the people who are just tuning in, if you have not caught part 1, I suggest you do so. But if you just want to chime into this, then please let them know one more time what the difference between a surrogacy and a gestational pregnancy is.
So if I were a surrogate, my actual egg would have been used for the baby. But in this case, they used the mother's egg and the father's sperm. They made the embryo. And then when it was time to transplant the embryo into my uterus, I became the gestational carrier for their baby. So it's all of their genes. It doesn't have any of my genes or, genetics. So
now, if it was surrogacy, remind me, the surrogacy, it would have some of the surrogate mother's genes.
Yes, it would, because her egg would be used.
Her egg would be used. Okay, gotcha. So, yes. So what is, let's start with the pros. What is the better part about toward the second or the end of this gestational pregnancy cycle than it was in the beginning? And that can be as far as anything, as far as doctor's visits, as far as getting used to it, as far as emotional attachment, whatever you would like to share. What is better than, the beginning of, carrying?
I think just knowing that, the journey is almost over. So it's successful. Not that it's been a bad journey, but, of course, the purpose of me starting is, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, like we're almost there. We did have some hiccups as far as like being scared that some medical things may have been wrong, but they were minor things that were kind of blown out of proportion. In my opinion, just knowing that baby's almost here,
and the baby's healthy. Okay, nice. So the cons, you just touched on one briefly. Are there any concerns or cons that you want to tell people who are interested in possibly taking on this journey themselves?
I would just say, just make sure you want to do it for the right reasons,
Well, as far as as far as the 9 months, the last trimester, what's the hard part about it? The cons with that? Since you talked about the pros, knowing that the journey is almost over, is it bittersweet? Is one of the cons knowing that, wow, this is really coming to an end? Or the money flow, it I
Well,
know.
oh yeah,
The money flow is
a little extra money is never bad when you have two kids at home who like to eat like,
yeah, like a horse. Yeah, so does
you,
mine.
you know kids are snacks all day long. Anywho, um, it so I'll just tell you personally about my journey. I've wanted to do this for a long time. So
Mhm.
even before thinking about money or where my career is or any of that, I had already applied to do it, just for the sake of wanting to help another family. And I've always been big on legacy. I started a company called Legacy Society a long time ago. So, helping people to build their legacy and have a strong foundation for their legacy has always been in my heart. God kind of like made this situation happen at the right time, I feel like,
Right.
because I was in a career change. So with me changing careers and being in my first year, my first anniversary just came up with being with a new company, and kind of getting into a corporate career field. Everybody who knows me knows that I did event planning and things like that before, which is not very corporate, but it's definitely helped me transition into, my first year in this career. So that was great. So I would say a bitter part is, it's bittersweet, but it did help me get through my first year in this career, which I'm very thankful for. Um, and then I know I just have to be back on my hustle bustle all the
Right.
time to make everything work with this new career choice that I made. And I'm loving it so far, and it goes along with my purpose that I told you I have, as far as like helping families build their legacy and have a strong legacy, because I'm doing like insurance and helping people with healthcare.
Okay, so you're all about helping people with their life,
Yes,
basically.
it's it,
So yeah,
it
that's what it sounds like. Especially the biggest help that you can do is help someone give life, you know. So that is very commendable. I know I said it before, I have to say it again. And uh back to the gestational pregnancy, what would you say is a target to take on this journey, like a target age? Would you say someone who's really young, maybe like 22, 25-ish area, or someone who's more established, maybe in their 30s or late 20s? Who would you say is good for this? And what is the cutoff age of a gestational carrier? When do they say, okay, you're too old to be a gestational?
right. The company that I went through now, I think it's 40. Um, you know, Years ago it was probably less, but now is 40 years old.
Is 40. Okay. So what would the target age be, you think? What do you
Well,
think someone that is 25 can carry on this responsibility? Or do you think it would be more like in your 30s? What do you think would
right.
be good after you have kids or before you have kids? What do you think?
I think just like other things, outside of the health part of it, age is just a number. I think it depends on mentality and the support system that they have. Because somebody who's in their 20s, they might mentally want to do it, but they don't have the right support system to, help them do it. You know, I've been lucky enough that I have my mother who can travel here when I need her during my pregnancies or during my recoveries. And I have my husband who's very supportive of my two kids.
So
But,
having a strong support system is a foundation for uh making the decision of taking on this journey. Would you say that?
I would say it will make it a lot easier. The agency did provide a lot of support for me. Like, we have a Facebook group where there's this full support system. People are always there to answer questions, and they're very personable. And they match you with people who you can relate to. I have had to reach out to their support system very minimal, because my intended parents are we've been so personal that, I don't necessarily have to keep going to the people who work for the company who are there for support, but it's there if they need it. You can always look into it and apply, and learn more and just figure out if of course they have to choose you too, but at the same time you get to figure out if the agency is going to be enough support for you as well.
So, what would you say are things that you have to watch out for? Do you think anyone takes advantage of this opportunity that you had, had to be a gestational carrier? I know that you mentioned money. Extra money is always good. I don't know if there is an amount that is enough to compensate for someone going through a whole pregnancy, but I guess it's priced accordingly to the best it can be. But what do you think that is something that people have to watch out for financially? Is that a good question to?
Well, with the question that you're asking, I know one thing that pops up in my head that happened throughout this process, as far as like the agency taking advantage of people who might need money. I know that may not be specifically what you're talking about, but that just pops up in my head. I know with the specific agency I went through, you're not allowed to like be on government assistance or anything like that to be accepted, because like when you're talking about taking advantage of people,
Okay.
they don't want that to be a legal thing, or
So
I'm
you
guessing
can't be
they
on
don't want it
government
to be a legal
assistance or
thing.
have like welfare or anything while you're doing this?
Yeah, so
Oh, really? Is that
yeah.
standard across the board or just with this specific agency, or may apply generally?
To be honest, I didn't research many different agencies. I think I kind of just lucked up with a good one. So I'm not sure.
That's great.
I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that's because I don't know, it could be a multitude of things. One reason I know is because they just want to make sure, that the home is as stable as it could be,
Okay.
There are also probably some legal things with them not wanting to be assume that they're taking advantage of people, like somebody who might mentally not want to do it, but they're just doing it for money.
Money. Yeah. And that's not a good, because, you'll do anything to
And
that.
that was bad for the surrogate and the gestational carriers. So that,
That would be very bad. Yeah. Have you heard of any stories with the relationships where gestational carriers and the intended mothers didn't get along? Like, how does that work out? I wonder, you think?
So when they do the matchmaking and things like that, they kind of
it's a matchmaking process that they do, so they know that it would work. It'd be a working fit.
Right.
Because some people can be on their best behavior and put on a facade until everything happens and the contracts are signed. I'm talking about possibly the gestational carrier. And then like, okay, just cut me my check. It is what it is. This is the real me. But I hope that wouldn't happen. I'm glad that's not your situation, but it is a serious process and something to really consider. This child is with you like a regular pregnancy, like 10 months. So, and you have to build a relationship. So I guess you would have to kind of be a people person. That's a good question. What type
you
of?
don't have to. So
No?
there's like some people who might say that, for instance, I said that, I don't mind having a close relationship with the intended parents, but I could have said like, I really don't care to have a relationship with them. Like they could be in another country and I'm fine with that. There might be some people, I'm pretty sure, who like are just like, I just want to carry the child. I really don't want to be too hands-on with intended parents. So that's part of the matchmaking process, like talking about your preferences on how you want your relationship to be with the intended parents, and they'll try to match you with people who like want the same type of thing.
Okay. So also with the financials, do like hospitals try to take advantage? Do you think sometimes possibly?
My recent experience when I told you, what I just mentioned, yeah, it did kind of feel like I went for my regular checkup and then it wasn't my regular doctor. I had to go with another doctor because my regular doctor was out of town. But I did kind of feel like, now that I'm towards the end, I have to do NFT monitoring, which is when they monitor the baby's heart and the contractions for like 20 minutes. And at this particular appointment, all of a sudden there were some concerns with the heart rate, and but the doctor was kind of unclear on exactly what the issue was, and sent me to the hospital like immediately, kind of like it was an emergency. I had to stay on monitoring for 3 hours. They wanted me to stay overnight, but there wasn't any clear reasoning. Like,
So that's something that people might need to be mindful of who are interested in this journey. Intended mothers and gestational carriers, that make sure you have valid reasons, I guess, for entering the hospital or the doctor's office, or because if you don't have a reason, why be there? Like, you have to be, I guess you have to make your own decision. Some people just go with and say, oh, well, the doctor said do it, so I'm going to do it. But I don't know if
right,
it's the best. You have to be your own judge of the situation and know what's best for you. That's something that you have to, I guess people have to take into consideration and do your best judgment and talk it over. Not by any means, I'm not saying not to listen to your doctor and your hospital provider, but make sure that you do ask questions and you talk. I guess communication is very effective when it comes to stuff like that. So let's get into the compensation again. So how does the compensation work? Just explain how it works. I know that you might have touched on it briefly in the last video. So do you get compensated every week, every month? Tell me just about how the process starts and when do you start getting compensated?
before you find out that the embryo has, stuck and you're pregnant, prior to that, they'll pay for your medical bills and, any traveling and things that you have to do. You might get it was like $1,000 here and there for certain procedures that you might have to do. And then you'll get after you find out that you're pregnant successfully, then you start getting a monthly compensation.
Oh,
And
after
all
you
of
find out
that
you're
goes
pregnant, you
through
get monthly compensation. So you get compensated once a month? Is that how it works?
mhm.
Okay. All right. So is there any other perks of compensation that you get when you do this besides just a monthly payment?
Uh, no, I mean, they have certain scenarios in your contract. Like if you were to have twins, you'll get an extra $8,000. Of course, if you have to go through some type of, there were certain things that, like, if you have to go through certain emergency procedures, you will get, you know, additional compensation to help. And the way they word it in the contracts and things, it's supposed to be to help you while you're recovering, while you're taking off work, so you can get daycare
Right.
provided, all of
So
that.
do you get compensated after you drop the baby, like after your recovery process while you're not working?
I think I'll get one more monthly, and then a recovery pay to cover for daycare
For your
and
own kids?
at work.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. So when you have
It's
to
not it's not like it's pretty much around the same that I get, probably less than what I'm getting monthly.
Okay. So what is the minimum pay for this whole process and what is the maximum pay?
To be honest, I'm not sure, but I think on the website, I mean, I started researching this so long ago, like between 35,000 to 40,000.
That's the lowest?
That's the number that I remember seeing. 35 to 40, in that range.
And what's the high end?
Like I said, I didn't research too much. That's just what I remember from the little bit of research that I did do. But I'm pretty sure there are more companies that may compensate more.
Okay.
I think it depends on the situation. I mean, if you're carrying a celebrity's baby and they're super oh my gosh, you have to keep this secret, I don't want this out, I'm pretty sure those people are
You
getting
get paid more for
way
that
more.
secret, right? So now I was just wanted my subscribers to see what kind of compensation and benefits and perks that they get besides the extra attention and the monthly pay and the pampering that you get from the intended parents. But they sound like they're really involved, so it's a really involved process. do you feel obligated to be there at their every beck and call?
Oh no. We're pretty lenient. I mean, we've been like we both like with our match process, we both have, you know, husbands that have their own business. They have their fur babies already. You know, we text each other. Sometimes we respond right away. Sometimes we respond the next day. We typically respond 12 to 24 hours. Of course, if it's an emergency, I'm sure like we both would get back to each other super fast.
Right, right. So do you think the day of delivery is going to be hard when you release the baby? I know you said that it's getting close to the, have you gotten emotionally attached yet? Do you think that some gestational parents will get emotionally attached?
I think I'm sure there are some that will, but you know, I can't speak for everyone. I would say, you know, I feel like it's made it a lot easier knowing the parents and knowing that they're great people and knowing that they deserve a child. Maybe if like for some odd reason, like I didn't know them and I had an inkling that I didn't feel like they were going to be able to take care of this child, then I might feel like, oh,
Do you discuss that with someone, the agency, and then you have the right to take care of that baby? Or how does that work? If
oh
you,
no, we go through a legal process. So you sign all the rights away
right,
before
okay,
away, but way before you get pregnant.
okay.
Yeah,
What advice
I
do
mean,
you have?
there are people in the group who are actually caring for mothers who are in other countries and they've never met them before in person, you know. So in my head, maybe I feel like maybe those situations it might be a bit harder because it's like they don't build a relationship with the parents, so the only relationship they've built is literally taking care of the child. In other countries, it is some other countries like I've heard Ukraine and I want to say somewhere in like in the Caribbean, it's a lot cheaper for the intended parents to go through the process and have a surrogate that are in other countries like Ukraine. Some parents that were in another country during the COVID pandemic, so the surrogate actually did get stuck taking care of the baby for a while because the parents could not travel during the whole COVID pandemic.
Okay. So what advice would you have for mothers who are thinking about doing this, what that you've learned before that you didn't know in the beginning process? But what advice would you have for mothers to prepare if they are really trying to um, be the gestational carrier, and mothers who are trying to be the intended mother? I
Mhm.
just kind of give my subscribers a takeaway.
I would say do your own research first.
Don't go with the first agency either, probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Try to do your research first and then slowly talk to them over time. Don't expect them to immediately say, "Yeah, I'm okay with this," because it's
Okay.
an everyday thing, and you know, a lot of people never met a gestational carrier or a surrogate, so all
Right.
they can go off of are movies, which Lifetime movies have all the craziest stories ever. Just take your time with it.
For both the intended mother and the carrier?
Well, I can't really speak for an intended mother, but I know everybody's journey is different. So typically, by the time intended mothers get to the point of doing this, they've probably already had some not so happy stories as far as their experience.
Miscarriages and things like that. So,
So, I would say I've heard stories where some intended mothers have been able to use their eggs successfully and some haven't. Even with this, you know, the same fertility clinic that I went to, I traveled all the way to New York. I've heard stories where, you know, they weren't able to successfully use their own egg. And of course, with my intended mother, she was. We can all just have faith. It's a hard process, and a
have
lot of
faith.
women go through a lot of hard times with it. So
Does it feel like just another pregnancy to you sometimes at times? Or does it
uh,
feel like it's different? You have to feel like you're a little bit more on pins and needles because it's somebody else's. child and they're paying you to do this, do you feel like you're being more cautious
Right.
that, or do you feel like it's just in
Yeah.
the pregnancy?
I think I have had to be more cautious with, my activity, because at the end of the day, even though I'm carrying the baby, it has someone else's genes. So a lot dealing with health goes off their genetics. So, I'll just be mindful of that. I can say, it hasn't been as stressful as when you're carrying your own child. You have to prepare your home for a new baby. I haven't had to think
Right.
about that.
You haven't. That's one of the benefits. Okay, that you don't
Right.
have to prepare your home for a new baby. You just carry the baby and everything else is left to the intended mother.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So she's doing her home preparation, and I'm thinking about my postpartum recovery.
Okay. All right. So, any last advice that you would want to give the intended mothers or the gestational carriers?
Message me, call me if you need me. I don't. There's not.
Okay,
I don't,
you're there for support for someone who. Well, I'll leave your information in the YouTube channel. And do you want to shout out your businesses too? So maybe some of my subscribers might be interested in following you and your Instagram handle.
the new Instagram I'm using is Legacy Society Lifestyle. So you can message me there. Yeah, I'm actually probably going to start posting more, since I won't be working out on the field as much because my baby bump is growing so fast, and I will be
The
taking it.
intended mother and I'm sorry, is the intended mother and the parents going to be in the delivery room?
Yes, they are allowed to be in there.
Okay. Do you have
And
that choice, or did that something that you decide?
I'm pretty sure I have a choice. Um, but I never really tried to say no. So if I
Okay.
had said no, honestly, I'm not sure what the response would have been. I mean, I immediately just said I would be fine with it.
Okay. Cool. And so I guess another thing is your kids. How do you explain to your own kids that you're going to be this baby's not coming home this time?
Right.
Baby's going to somebody else. What did you said your son said something really cute. You were telling him you were getting paid to do this.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he goes, oh, so we're selling babies now?
And he's how old? He's
He's 7. He was probably 6 when he said that.
You told him that the baby's not coming home. Mommy's getting paid to have this baby. He's like, oh, you're selling these babies.
Yeah, so of course I went into more detail, like, we're actually helping a family who, they don't have kids and they're not able to, like mommy can. So I'm helping them do that.
I had two questions for you. Do you think you should tell your own children before you have your pregnant, before you decide to do this, or while your belly is growing?
Probably while it's growing,
Probably
because
while it's growing.
it might not be a successful pregnancy and you don't, I
Well,
mean,
right, exactly. Now, what about other people? What if they see you like, hey, how's your new baby doing? Do you feel obligated to tell people like, well, that wasn't my baby. I was a surrogate.
honestly, it depends on the vibrations, because I've told some people immediately when I first meet them, and some people I just don't even feel like getting into that conversation with them, so I don't
There's somebody going to ask. There's
yeah,
always somebody going to ask.
every situation is different. It just depends on what kind of vibe the person's giving me.
So the process from beginning to end takes how long?
So right now, I know the matchmaking process, it takes a full year for the intended parents to find out who they're going to be matched with. To be honest, I can't even recall. Okay, so I had my last son in 2020 in August. So he's 2 years old now. Right after I had him, that's when I reapplied.
Okay.
So around August of 2020 is when I started this process.
Wow, that's a long journey. Almost, I guess that's 2 years. And
Maybe, sorry, let me step back a minute. Maybe I waited at least like 6 months or so before I reapplied.
6 months. Okay, but
Yeah.
it could be like a 2 whole year process. So it's
Yeah.
not something
Hey,
that
at
you
least,
get in, you get out. You you consider.
I would
So
say the process is going to take at least like a year.
well, it's not just the average pregnancy, so it's much to
Yeah,
be expected that it comes with it. Well, you look beautiful. Motherhood looks good on you, and I just hope that everything goes well. I'll be praying for you. You guys have any questions or comments for Miss Latricia, then you can leave them in the comments section. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and follow her as well on Instagram. I also would like you guys to check out my playlist, share this video, and make sure you press that like button. And until next time, over and out.
thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.